Hey guys, I'm Jax and this is my very timely and definitely not one entire day late review for Yellowjackets Season 2 Episode 3. So this episode was really exciting and really interesting. We got some really intense Shauna gun-related present-day madness. We got some very overt supernatural hints at kind of very dark, ominous things to come. And we also got some really good coach flashbacks. But the thing that I am most excited about, and it is my Lord of the Rings bias, I am aware of that, but the idea that Elijah Wood, Frodo Baggins himself, and Misty, present-day Misty, are probably gonna have sex, I don't know why, but that brings me joy. I love their sexual chemistry and romance, and they don't even know what's happening yet, but that's just that's classic TV. That's how it always happens, and I love their dynamic. I love everything about these two characters. Misty's probably my favorite character. I just find her really kind of charming and likable, but she keeps doing things where I'm like, that's psycho and bad Misty. And Elijah Wood feels like he's going to kind of balance it out a little bit, or maybe make it worse accidentally. I just think their dynamic is really interesting, and I like him saying he's a bored Moriarty to her Sherlock, and she just kind of like this glow on her face. It was really exciting. I'm just really counting down the episodes until they have sex. Do I expect them to turn into a hard-ass show and show me Frodo's penis? No, and that will disappoint me, if I'm being completely honest. One thing I was quite surprised about in this episode, and not to say I was disappointed, but I was just kind of like surprised by, was the fact that Coach didn't kind of, I don't know, have a confrontation or an argument or even really a discussion of any type with all the kids. Like, they went full cannibal. He was like, no Jackie for me, thank you very much. I'm happy to just keep eating the bear or nothing. So there seemed to be like this big moment with Coach not being a part of it. At the end of last episode and at the start of this episode, I don't know, he says like one little sly comment, but it almost feels like this under the table quick little comment. Like I was really expecting like a big moment, a big rift in the group, and this growing tension that as he's clearly the weakest without a leg, he's not going to be able to hunt or provide or help them do much. He's kind of a burden when it gets very kind of nitty gritty, and he also doesn't like that they went cannibal, to kind of create that tension of he's clearly going to be the next one to be eaten. Whereas they didn't really go that route, and this episode we got a lot of flashbacks with him, which I'll discuss later, which I quite enjoyed, even though they were very sad and tragic. Just really nice to kind of see more of their lives before the crash. But I found it kind of bizarre that they had the decision to make him just kind of bedridden. So seeing them do that, and maybe just not eating, he's now become very sick, very hungry, very tired, and he's just kind of bedridden the whole episode. And apart from the fact that felt very fitting, because the reason this review didn't come out on time, which I wanted to, it was because I, in fact, was bedridden all of Friday. But not because I saw a whole bunch of kids do a cannibal, and I was very sick and hungry, and maybe a little bit jealous, and kind of like, ugh. They ate all of Jackie, and I actually now want some Jackie, but there's no Jackie to be had, and I'm just like lying in bed very sick and tired. I was looking like Coach, but mostly for, you know, poor decision making and alcohol. Well, it's mostly the alcohol. It just lost so much alcohol. So apart from Coach being my spirit animal this week, I did find that like a little bit of an odd decision to not have them ramp up with this kind of confrontation and kind of have him bedridden and kind of sidelined. But I guess that'll make it more tragic when he kind of just slowly passes in the night and then they eat him. But I really did think there'd be some kind of big kind of confrontation. But maybe they are saving that for when they kind of look for him to be the next, like, meal. So this season seems to be really ramping up the supernatural aspects of this show, and I feel like this episode really starts to go in a way where it's like, it's kind of undeniably supernatural. I feel like for season 1 it felt like a bit more kind of up in the air, up to your interpretation, even though Lottie did seem to have some kind of prophetic kind of visions. Now it's really starting to see like there's a lot more going on. And one of the things that kind of really has like kind of seems to be kind of very obviously supernatural now is Ty's sleepwalking, which I always thought was just this kind of like her just having a freak out and, you know, mentally kind of this is happening in her subconscious while she sleeps, as she's sleepwalking, just because of the trauma, like something from the trauma. But it appears that the guy with no eyes, Mr. Man with no eyeballs, who feels very Mike Flanagan inspired, he's real or he's going to be some kind of entity or a demon, because I don't know, like the way it's been presented now kind of makes me think about it in a different way, whereas at first I kind of just thought this was a spooky, scary thing in her mind. But I feel like maybe they're leaning in a different direction with it. And I think at first, especially last episode, I was like, oh, I don't know how I like all these very overtly supernatural things happening. But I think with a week to kind of digest and realize, no, they are going to go full supernatural. I think I am actually kind of quite excited for it to get really, really weird. And it being like a thing that exists in some form or another kind of explains the shrine she made at the end of season 1. Whereas I thought that was just like, oh, her sleepwalking just gets very dark and perverse because of the trauma. But it would make sense if she's actually doing a shrine for Mr. Eyeballs Man. Or, sorry, Mr. No Eyeballs Man. All the birds falling as, like, she gets a blood nose over the blanket and the symbol being there. Just really creepy. And it's like, mate, and they're like, oh, the iron or the something in the ground. Maybe the birds all, like, lost their navigation and brought all kamikazes onto their roof. Like, I don't know. It's like you can maybe see it in, like, a realistic scientific way. But I really liked how just upsetting and terrifying that was. And I also love how Lottie kind of took advantage of that situation and just went, oh, guys, I'm Lottie and it's time for me to go full Lottie and just be really weird and witch doctory and creepy. And she's just like, everyone, get the birds, line them up. I'm going to touch them. It's going to be a whole ritual situation. Let's just get really weird. And it's just scary and upsetting. But you can totally see how they're all kind of buying into her for all the things she's saying. And just that kind of commanding presence. Like certain people have that leadership quality. And even though she's kind of on a more spiritual like level, she's still got that leadership quality where people seem to be gravitating towards her. And I'm finding that really, really interesting. And you're seeing a couple of characters here or there kind of go, what? I don't know how I feel about this Lottie leadership witch doctor lady situation. So I feel like there is going to be a rift very soon. Or maybe not soon, but I am surprised by how quickly it's moving. So, yeah, I'm kind of terrified for anybody who doesn't like Lottie at this point. Because Lottie seems like she's going to be like Mrs. Head Cannibal Antler Lady. So in this episode with Shauna, in the present day, we find out she loves to do a murder. She wants to do a murder. And she's really keen to do a murder. She's like, oh my God, these hands aren't shaking because I'm nervous. It's because I'm so excited. What? I did not get the impression that she was harboring love to murder and eat people vibes anymore. Like, I felt like that wasn't really present until this episode. Like, yes, she was very quick to shoot her boyfriend, sexy, charming guy who was clearly evil. Twist, he wasn't evil, of season 1, where she went bang, 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 shot him dead. But I felt like she was so confident that he was the bad guy in that situation. And because of those past traumas, she's like, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. It didn't feel like she was like, I've been waiting for someone to let me kill them and put me in a situation where I can be like, wow, I didn't want to kill them, but secretly I did. I don't really feel like she's been presented as this character saying those things. Like, it was a fantastic scene. It was really upsetting. The performance was really chilling and great. I absolutely loved all of that. Like, as an isolated scene, fantastic. But I don't really feel like that's the character we've been introduced to and presented with prior. If that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like it makes a little bit more sense with the flashbacks we're getting. Like, they kind of parallel each other. Like, Shauna feels really distraught over the cannibalism. We've just had them eat for the first time. So cutting from that and the aftermath of that and cutting to this, like, works together. It's kind of the other stuff, like the whole of season 1, where I'm like, yeah, she's not, like, all there, but I didn't really get the sense where I'm like, oh, she could do anything. She'll kill anyone. She wants to kill people. I really didn't get that sense whatsoever. So Nat continues to hang out at the not a cult place, definitely a cult, and I found all of this to be fine, mildly interesting, not that interesting. I'm kind of waiting for the shoe to drop with like the whole what's actually going on with the cult. So up until then, I feel like this is not like treading water. I feel like that's kind of maybe too harsh a criticism, but it's just kind of like, okay, yep, I mean, we're doing this. But, like, I just want to know what's going on with this cult. And maybe that's just me being greedy, being like, show me and reveal me all the thingies. Because Lottie can't just be... Okay, it is torrential raining, so I do apologize for the audio. there's no way that's not getting picked up. That's so loud. So all the Nat stuff was fine. Not the worst stuff I've ever seen in my life, but not overly engaging. But the thing that really kind of, I don't know, like surprised and interested me, but I just mostly baffled, and I would love to be able to explain what the hell was the bees. Like Lottie at the end of the episode goes to her beehive, and there's blood everywhere. It looks like human blood, or definitely just not bee blood. I mean, I don't even know what bee blood looks like, but it's so bloody. It's like, that's like a billion bees. So clearly not coming from bees. And the whole scene, I'm just like, I don't even understand what I'm meant to be watching right now. And then the realization that it's some kind of vision. So probably some kind of metaphor relating to how she described the bees, or like the one queen bee kills all the other potential queen bees. Some kind of metaphor, symbolism, blood or whatever. I think maybe probably something to do with the song and that thing that was said in another language, but I don't speak whatever language that was, so I don't know what she said. I don't know. Baffling and terrifying, and I feel like that was like the scene that I kind of went, like that reminds me of season 1, with just these moments of true terror and horror and the unknown, with a really good performance, a really good soundtrack, and all of those things mixing together to leave the episode making me feel really uneasy and really kind of upset in a way where I almost can't figure out why, which I really, really love. And it was one of the things in season 1 that I thought worked so effectively, in just that sense of dread and unknown and foreboding menace for like the future. And I think this scene just nailed it. And I was like, I don't know what I just experienced and watched, but I love it. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what everyone thought of this episode of Yellowjackets.